let's flip a coin. Head Carolina, tails California, somewhere greener, somewhere warmer.
Okay, it's Andy Graham of hoboontheroad.com. I'm in Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. There's the tram going by. It's early morning, Sarajevo, and it's not a war zone, guys. That was 20 years ago, but it's definitely about war tourism, I think. Okay, I got a question here. It's really good. When I go back in the hostel to show you, I'm in the hostel art and read off the question. The man wants to know how I printed out my Ryanair ticket. Okay, I think, you know, most of you are going to, if you're going to Europe, you might go on a 2-week trip. And what I see the strategy that most people do, this is, okay, I've traveled nonstop for 16 plus years and went to 93 countries. Lawrence B. asked, how did you print out your boarding pass for Ryanair.com? Ryanair is a super cheap flight that I flew from Oslo to Croatia. It's about a 2-hour and 20-hour flight. It's like flying from Indiana to Florida, and it cost me $33. Okay, now this is how did I print this? I knew this ticket that I had bought this ticket still while I was in the United States, and I actually printed it out in the United States. If you don't print this ticket out, this boarding pass out, it's kind of confusing because you got to get on there and you got to click and you add your code, and then you just keep clicking until it takes you to a place where it's not talking about boarding passes. It doesn't obviously say print out your boarding pass, because they make 80 euros if you don't have one of these things. It's got a barcode on it, and they just type it in there, boom, you're checked in, boom. You can check in really super fast on Ryanair. But if you don't have that, they charge you 80 euros. And that's where they make the money, or the check bag. You get the $33 plane fare, then you pay more for the check bag, or you pay more for pretty much anything, food. They even tried to add on toilets, I think. But like right now, if I needed to fly out of Bosnia Sarajevo, I would be out of luck, because the hostel, a really good hostel, is going to have a printer somewhere. Like the one in Zadar had a printer, and they charged me, but they would charge you $7, so they charge you about $3 for one page. So get you, bend over. This is Europe. Bend over. You know Ben Dover, don't you? Okay. What you'd have to do is walk around for about an hour in the city here. I would have to walk around and keep saying internet cafe. Normally, the hostel would have some idea and tell you this. Where I'm at's not good for that kind of stuff, but normally the internet cafes are disappearing. Okay, contrary to what you think, everybody's got these smartphones and everybody's got internet, and the internet cafes are disappearing from the planet, and they're much more difficult to find. But generally I would ask the hostel first where one is, and then I would try to walk down it. I found one in Zadar. I was going to print out these questions, and they wanted I don't know, $2 for 20 minutes plus like 50 cents a page. By the time I would print out the questions, I'd have $5 just in answering the questions right. So I figured out a system of putting them on thing. You have to have this printed out, and contrary to what you think, these e-tickets are not saving paper, because now we have more paper, I think, because a lot of airports you can't even get into the airport unless you have your boarding pass printed out, so they got 2 or 3 pages printed out right. I do commend Ryanair. The thing did print out on 1 page, and it had pretty much all the information I wanted. Then it had a barcode or a Q code, I think it's called, I'm not sure. There's a certain type of barcode on there, but always start with your hotel, asking them where the internet cafe is, and then just walking. If you're really in boomfucked Egypt travel, you go to a 5-star hotel, and they should have a business section. China, I did this. We would go to the you couldn't figure out anything, so we went to the 5-star hotels to ask them questions, and would sometimes use the internet inside the 5-star hotel. I did this in Iraq. We went to the Palestine hotel. I lived in the Al Fanar. We went over to the 5-star hotel and used their internet thing. And it doesn't work the same as the internet cafe, but it does work. These, contrary to what you think, I've never really been in a super efficient place. Okay. It's always the promise of this, but the under-delivery is what they give you. So start out with your hotel asking questions. If you're in an extremely difficult place that's in Arabic or in China, get the person in the hotel to write the word internet, then you can put it in somebody's face, they read it, internet cafe, and they can just keep pointing you. So if you can't speak the language, get somebody in the hotel to write it down, or going into a 5-star hotel and have them write it down, and just keep going. But 5-star hotels have business centers, and the reason why people live in business guys almost need to do it is they're not prepared to travel. They're the worst travelers on the planet, but they're living in the most expensive hotel, which makes it easy for them. I used to have a friend of mine, from the pilot, that would call me from these $500 hotels, and his internet wasn't working, and I would have to tell him, you're too far from the router, or maybe sometimes they'd give you a wire into the room, but they'd have Wi-Fi plus an Ethernet wire, and I'd have to tell him, hook up the wire and try a different system. But they don't debug their system and come into the hotel and make sure that you're connected. I mean, they don't walk you. But in a way, you should. If I was paying $500 a night, I'd have the manager or somebody walking up there and getting everything, making sure it works. But when I'm in a hotel, I actually turn on my computer and make sure that the internet's connected and I have a high enough velocity or whatever, speed, bandwidth, before I pay for the hotel. But that's the problem with the reservation. A reservation means that they can give you anything they want. That's the reason why I don't like reservations. But the always one system is probably to walk into a 5-star hotel, and you can even pretend like you're living there and just give them a chip. Now you got to be able to take off your computer. Oh, these guys with these smartphones, I just realized they're going to have they're really in trouble. There's 98% of your travelers are not carrying a laptop now. And so what they're going to do is have it on their smartphone. So what they're going to have to probably do is have an email like Gmail or Yahoo, and they're going to have to go to an internet cafe, get online, and then print it out from the internet cafe. Or it's going to make it extremely difficult. There's probably a way to transfer from the smartphone to your USB chip. You know what a USB chip is, right? Like, I almost always have a USB chip with me. Let's see if I can pull up one. Nope, it's not going to work that easy. Just when you need stuff. A USB chip goes in the side of the computer, right? I'm lightening up my backpack because it's so heavy. But I try to carry one with me most of the time. But you got your smartphone, and you're going to have a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo account. And because if you have one of these business type things, you're gonna have to be able to walk up to any computer on the planet and access the internet. The real truth is that, let me tell you what's really happening on the ground. What's really happening on the ground is the people are coming, the backpackers that are really organized are coming